ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। Read from the second verse. Shri Bhagavanuvāca Kāmyānāṁ karmaṇānyāsam Sannyāsam kavayo viduhu sarvakarma phalattyāgam प्राहुस्त्यागं विचक्षणाः त्याज्यं दोषवदित्येके कर्म प्राहुर्मनीषिणः यज्ञदानतपः कर्म न त्याज्यमिति चापरे निश्चयं शृणु मे तत्र त्यागे भरतसत्तम त्यागो हि पुरुषव्याघ्र त्रिविधः सम्प्रकीर्तितः So now Lord Krishna proceeds to explain the rahasya, the real secret of what is meant by renunciation. And in so doing, first of all, the position of some thinkers has been presented in the third verse. Tyajyam doshavadityake karma prahur manishinaha eke manishinaha prahuhu. There are certain thinkers who say, wise people say, thinkers who say that action is inherently defective. Action is inherently beset with evil, and therefore a spiritual aspirant must give up action altogether. Meaning they do not look upon, they are the pursuers of knowledge, Sankhyas, and they believe that for pursuit of knowledge, in fact, karma or the action has no contribution to make. In fact, it is an obstacle. This is how they see. Yajnidana tapah karma na tyajyam chapare. Other thinkers think that no, in fact, karma or the action has an important role to play in the self-growth of the person, in preparation for the knowledge. So understand the scheme of Bhagavad Gita is that action is a means of knowledge. Action creates the right preparation for jignasa or for the desire to knowledge to take place, and then one pursues the knowledge. This is the sequence. And so, in accordance with that, other thinkers say that yajnidana tapah karma, the actions that are called yajna, that means the worship, danam, which is charity, and tapaha, the austerities, this should be performed. This is what other thinkers say. Nischayam shrunu me tatra tyage bharata sattama. Oh, most excellent among the Bharatas, hey Arjuna, listen to my firm conclusion regarding what is called tyaga or renunciation. But Lord Krishna doesn't say what his conclusion is in this verse. Tyago hi purushavyagra trividaha samprakirtitaha. That before I can tell you about tyaga or renunciation, understand that renunciation is threefold. In this chapter, Lord Krishna is going to describe many of the categories as threefold. And so also, the renunciation also is threefold. Before explaining the threefold renunciation, Lord Krishna gives, so two things are said. Nischayam shrunami tatra tyage bharata sattama. Here Arjuna, listen to my firm conviction regarding the renunciation. That's one. And secondly, here Arjuna understand that this renunciation is threefold. So two things that Lord Krishna has to say. So what is his conclusion or firm conclusion that he is to say, and in what way is the renunciation threefold, that also has to be said. And so in next two verses, Lord Krishna gives us the firm conclusion that he has with reference to what is meant by renunciation. So the fifth verse tells us, Yajnadana tapah karma, Yajnadana tapah karma, Natyajyam karyameva tat, Natyajyam karyameva tat, Yajno danam tapaschaiva, Yajno danam tapaschaiva, Pavanani manishinam, Pavanani manishinam. Yajnadana tapah karma natyajyam. This karma which is called yajna, the practice of sacrifice or the worship. Danam, the charity, and tapaha, the austerity, natyajyam. This should not be given up by a spiritual aspirant. Should not be given up. Karyameva, in fact, it must definitely be performed. Now, once you say it should not be given up, means it should be performed. There is no need to say they should not be given up but performed, So, Lord Krishna seems to repeat himself. Yajnadana tapah karma natyajyam. The karma of the action that is called the worship, and that is the charity, and that is austerity, that should not be given up. Then what should you do with it? You must in fact perform it. Karyameva, that is something. Karyam. Karyam is that which should be done. Karya means that which should be done. Here Arjuna, in fact, they should be done. So why should we do them? Because yajna danam tapasyaiva pavanani manishinam. Because yajna, dana and tapaha, as I said, these represent all the nitya, namely karma, all the daily and incidental obligatory duties are represented by these three: the worship, the charity and the austerity. These in fact represent all the duties that are enjoined upon a person. That means that all the enjoined duties must be performed. But primarily these three things are identified here, but these are the three most important things that should be there in the life of a householder or in anybody's life for that matter. That there must be the worship of the God, should be there. Recognizing that in fact different kinds of yajnas are being said. This we are discussing the topic of karma yoga, but the Vedas say that there should be different kinds of sacrifices or forms of worship in the life of a human being. And thus they talk about the 5 kinds of yajna or 5 forms of worship which every human being should have to perform every day, daily. And that is the worship of. So, as we have said, the reason is that as the Vedas see, this universe consists of 5 kinds of living beings. The human beings are one living beings on the earth. The gods are the other other living beings in the heavens. And Pitrus or the departed souls are the third living beings in the world of mains, Pitraloka. And Rishis or the sages are the fourth living beings. And other human beings and creatures around us are the fifth kind of living beings. So these are the different kinds of 5 kinds of Chetana, the conscious living beings are there. And that a human being constantly receives support from all these 5 kinds of beings, and therefore in his life also there must be a recognition for the well-being of these 5. Therefore 5 yajnas or 5 forms of offerings are to perform every day. How do you please the sages and the teachers? By reciting the scriptures. By reciting the scriptures, by learning them, reciting them and passing them on. Which means that there must be pursuit of knowledge in the life of everyone, because that is what will satisfy the sages and the teachers who have given us this storehouse of knowledge. How do you worship the parents or departed souls? By making offerings to them as stated in the scriptures. Apparently the offerings made here, they reach those living in the Pitraloka in the world of mains also. However, that's again a matter of faith. How can it be, Swamiji, that you do something here and which is there? Like the gift subscription, as we call it, So I pay the subscription and somebody else gets the magazine. In a way similar to that, I perform a certain ritual and someone else gets the benefit of that. And so, things should be performed for the benefit of, so some rituals must be performed for the benefit of departed souls. So they are dependent upon us. So when they were alive, they took care of us. Now that they are departed, they are dependent upon us that we do something here in order to support them there. A recognition that they also have a place in our life. A recognition that the sages and the teachers also should have a place in our life. A recognition that all the gods also should have a place in our life. Because they also, God in the form of different elements of nature, they also constantly support us. The earth supports us, nourishes us, the sun illumines our path, the water quenches our thirst, the fire keeps us warm. All the elements constantly help us, serve us. Looks like the whole universe is meant to only serve the human being. Looks like it. That's how the Vedas seem to look at it. Human being is the center of the whole universe, and the whole universe in fact serves him, and therefore should also be served by him in turn. And therefore, devatas, the gods, worship of gods also should be there. And worship involves making offerings to them. In those days, the worship was fire rituals where we were making offerings to gods who were invoked in the fire. Or you can perform acts of worship, making offerings in different ways. Not only food is the offering, you recite prayers and hymns and all this. So all of these different kinds of offerings made to God. So they are happy. And then other human beings, so in the society also do their work, like the farmers and merchants and many people, and because of which we get what we need, and therefore a place for them in our life also. And therefore this charity, or giving food to the hungry and giving, shelter to those who are in need of that. So giving food and shelter to the needy also is looked upon as one of the duties of a person, a householder in particular. And also offering food to animals and creatures who are around, so that's also supporting them also, because they also have a role to play in our life. Like the trees also have a role to play in our life. They give out oxygen and take away carbon dioxide. And I guess in some way or the other, all the insects and creatures, directly or indirectly, in some way contribute in our life. It's a matter of perhaps discovering how. Swami, what do the mosquitoes do for us? I don't know what they do for us. Something they must be doing. The reason why mosquitoes are there must be some reason why they are there. There was some reason. And therefore, in some way or the other, they must be doing something for us. I don't know. If nothing else, I guess, by biting somebody whom I do not like, whatever, in some ways, whatever it is. So, they contribute in some way. And therefore, we support the creatures also. It is this awareness, this recognition, the sensitivity, the sense of gratitude, that I am what I am on account of the support that I am receiving from the rest of the world. So all the world consisting of these 5 kinds of living beings, they look up to the human beings. So Brihadaranyaka Upanishad says that when the human being thus performs these 5 forms of worship, this is to be done every day. Then all those living beings are happy, and they in turn take care of him. Like I take care of my body takes care of me. And so I take care of them, they take care of me. There is a mutual dependence here. Devan bhavayatanena te devaha bhavayantuha. In the 3rd chapter we were told that may you propitiate the gods and all the other people, and they in turn will also nourish you. This is how a mutual support system. We should recognize that. And Lord Krishna said that the person who keeps on receiving the benefits from the universal scheme without returning the benefit is a thief. In his books, not in the local books, and we can get away, but from his books we cannot get away. So one who keeps on deriving the benefit, he keeps on breathing air and drinking water and walking on the earth and using the illumination of the sun, all of these benefits he derives without doing anything for these elements. So that's the reason why a typical form of worship involves all these elements also. A typical worship involves all these elements. And so when we ring the bells or when we recite the mantras and we chant, that is all shabda, the sound, and that is a purification of the element space. And when we offer the food, that is taste, that is for the element water. And when we offer incense, that is the element earth, that is the smell. And so thus all the elements are involved when you perform the worship. So therefore the Hindus are crazy people, they even worship the rivers. What is there to worship in the river? In water you throw things. And so once we are performing the worship of the river and we are offering milk and things like that, and some Western people happen to be there in Rishikesh and are watching, aghast, so what are you doing? And we offer some ornaments and some clothes. So what is he doing? Throwing ornaments into water? Milk into water? Yeah, I guess you can say that. Just as people say that when you are performing the yajna, yaga, some fire rituals, what are you doing? You are putting ghee and all the food into the fire and turning it to ash. It would have been much better had it been given to some hungry people, poor people. Maybe right? But after all, when we take our dip in the river, and it's our duty also to contribute something to the purification of the river. And so purification of all, you see, this is an ecological system. It is recognized that we derive benefits from all the various elements of nature, and therefore whatever we do in our life must have recognition of this and some contribution to the well-being of these elements also, who are looked upon as devatas. So this is this sensitivity. So this is called yajna. The idea is that this spirit of worship must be there, and this comes from the sense of recognition and also a sense of gratitude that arises in me on account of recognizing the privilege that I am enjoying privileges, and therefore there must be a return of the favor. So this yajna must be there, dhanam, the charity must be there, that there are people who are needier than you are. In Bhagavad Gita, actually, if you say, you can read this in the verses that Lord Krishna thinks that there is no such thing as private property. Whatever wealth is there is all public wealth. It belongs kasyasvit dhanam. So Ishasya Upanishad says, Ma grudaha kasyasvit dhanam. Do not covet anybody's wealth. Kasyasvit dhanam. Whose wealth it is? Nobody's wealth. It belongs all to God. Kasya. Ka means Brahman. Kasya means Brahmana. And so the wealth belongs to Lord. And therefore, so you become just a medium of receiving it and distributing it. And therefore, dhanam, the charity must be there. They do not like this accumulation and storing and for the 7 generations to come. They want that you certainly you earn money and become a vehicle or a channel of passing on to those who are needy. And tapaha, the austerity. Let your life be as simple as possible. Make your demands as few as possible. So this is tapaha or austerity. So this is what is enjoined by the scriptures. And this is what a conscientious person, this is the life he lives. Natyajam, here Arjuna, this should not be given up. Karyameva tata, this must be done. Yajnyodanam tapasyeva pavanani manishanam, because pavanani, they have the purifying effect. And so, what is purification? Purification of the mind. So we need two things to happen with our mind. One is whatever negative tendencies are there, they should go, and positive tendencies should come also. That is called purification. Removal of negative tendencies and planting the positive tendencies. This is called so these negative tendencies such as likes and dislikes, anger, greed, etc. So they are the very obstacles to the knowledge. And therefore, all those things that obstruct the understanding of the scriptures and owning of the scriptures, all those obstacles must be removed. And therefore, as we said, this is a process of renunciation. Renunciation of the obstacles, the inner obstacles, in the form of lust or greed or anger or whatever all these passions or impulses are there, which in fact come in my way of focusing my mind, of concentrating my mind, or of understanding the subtle meaning of the scriptures. So these obstacles have been removed. So pavanani manishanam. So these karmas, these activities, actions, in fact, they purify the intelligent people. So this is called purification, removal of the negative tendencies and also acquisition of the positive tendencies. And therefore, of course, how long should we do this, O Lord? This is to be done forever. Some people believe it should be done forever. As I said, the Mimamsakas, the Purva Mimamsakas believe that you should never give up the enjoined action. Therefore, they do not accept what we call sannyasa, renunciation of duties they can never accept. So there are those thinkers in India who never accepted the renunciation of duty. They say the duty is something to be performed until as long as you are alive. But Lord Krishna does not say that. The Vedantin doesn't say that. Arurukshor muneyogam karma karana muchyate. The one who wants to climb the horse of yoga, for him the karma yoga is the means. That is, if you want a state of mind which enjoys the focus, which enjoys the contemplativeness, then karma yoga is a means. Yoga rudhasya tasyeva shamah karana muchyate. When you attain a certain maturity of the mind, when now you find that all you need, the only priority that you have is pursuit of knowledge, then nothing else bothers you. That even being in the midst of these sense pleasures, they do not create in you any temptations. And also there is no sense of guilt also that I have, or no other desires left in you to make other accomplishments. So thus when the mind is free from what we call the bhoga buddhi, or the tendency to enjoy things or seek pleasures, so when the pleasure-seeking tendencies are gone from the mind, and also the need to perform your duty for purification also not needed, understand that the karma or the actions, the karma yoga has done its job. And then they should be dropped. But until then, it should be performed. And so, until one becomes prepared for pursuit of knowledge, it's not easy. Do you think it is easy to live in the Gurukulam all the time? It's nice to come for a week in a year, or 2 weeks maybe, 3 weeks, 6 weeks. Swamiji, Vedanta is coming out of my ears, then ultimately you get saturated with that. Every day, when we come to Gurukulam, the food is excellent, that's all right, because you are campers. But, when you go to any ashrams on a daily basis, when the visitors are there, guests are there, and then there's one thing. And when the what we call the inmates are there, inmates when the regular residents are there. Our place is okay, but sometimes for residents the food is of a different kind. And so then slowly things start pinching you. The chapati is like that, and dal is like that, and the spice is like that, and heating is not proper, and it's just warm here, it is humid here. There's no entertainment, there's no TV, there's nothing. Now and then I like to eat a slice of pizza, But in Gurukulam, that's all. It's all right here that you have motor cars and you can go out at will and then have what you want. But otherwise, if you are a resident in a Gurukulam, then you live a life of austerity, a life of penance. So, it is not easy to live that kind of life. In India, in the state of Gujarat, we've been saying that we have what we call the silent retreats. You can go to a place and spend time in silence, in just one room, and observe silence for 1 week, the whole week. Just stay in there, don't go out, don't talk, no company, nothing. There will be some books, or you can carry some books with you if you like, and you can meditate, you can pray, you can repeat the name of God, whatever you want. And they will bring food to you twice a day, and take over the plates also, and thus provide all facilities. People go there. But sometimes people go there in 2 days, they get just, they have to come out. They can't stay in there. So how can you stay within one room? There's not even enough light there. And what to do? And so you become restless, and you have to get out. It is not easy to be quiet, not easy to remain in one place, not easy to study and contemplate all the time, So that is what we call preparation. So when the mind becomes prepared like that, then you enjoy that. Suppose you enjoy the study, you enjoy thinking about Vedanta, you enjoy thinking about God, you enjoy repeating His name, you enjoy that. Then there is no problem. There are some nice verses which tell us that, in Bhagavatam it is said, how long one should keep performing the duties. When do you know that you are ready? Tavat karmani kurveda na nirvidyeda yavata. So long one should keep on performing one's duty as long as the vairagya has not arisen. Vairagya meaning the freedom from raga and dvesha. And therefore, a freedom from the need for seeking pleasures, a freedom from need for any emotional support, and so when one has become free from these things, that is called vairagya. Until then, this karma must be continued. Or mat katha shravanado va shraddhaya vanna jayate. Or Lord Krishna says in Bhagavatam that until you start enjoying listening to my glories and reading about it, thinking about me. So if you start enjoying thinking about me, Lord Krishna says, listening to my glories, thinking about my glories, and repeating my name, if you start enjoying them, understand that now you are independent. The idea is that one should gain an independence. That for one's pleasure of mind or happiness of mind, one is not dependent upon anything other than oneself, or at the most one's books, that's all. Jnanishto virakto va mad bhakto va anapekshakah. Or you gain an abidance in knowledge, or you gain that bhakti of the devotion in the Lord, or you become totally free from any expectations or demands. So when that state of mind is reached, until then the karma yoga, the karma must be performed. In fact, it is said that you should not give the work, Na karmani tyajed yogi karma vistyajyate hyasau. Yogi should not give up the karma, work or action. Action will give him up. So, na karmani tyajed yogi. A yogi, meaning a spiritual aspirant, should not give up the performance of his duties. Karma vistyajyate hyasau. He will be given up by the duty. That means the duty will drop off. There is a need to perform, the actions will drop off. So until then, so when Lord Krishna says that karyameva tata, this must be done, how long should it be done? Until the preparation for knowledge takes place. When you are prepared for the knowledge, when all you need is just the knowledge and nothing else. You're happy studying, you're happy contemplating, you're happy. I've seen people from morning till evening, that's what they do. Many people who attend our classes and then they retire and they cannot come to the classes anymore also, become old. This man from morning, he had Bhagavad Gita, 6 different kinds of commentaries on Bhagavad Gita, and you read a verse and all different commentaries and think about it and just enjoy it. Any visitor comes, that's all he has to talk about. He doesn't need to visit anybody. If anybody needs to visit him, this is what he hears. You can see him reveling in the Bhagavad Gita. Think that's it. If that has happened, you are ready to renounce the action. That means you are ready to give up the action. Because now you have become a contemplative person. You enjoy the very contemplation. You enjoy the very thinking, very studying, contemplating. Until that frame of mind happens, the purification process must go on, and these daily obligate duties are meant for purification of mind. But then Lord Krishna says even these actions also, some qualification is given in the 6th verse. Etanyapitu karmani sangam tyaktva phalani cha kartavyani me partha nischitam matamuttamam. Etani apitu karmani, even these actions also. These are the religious actions. So performing worship is a religious action. Giving charity is a religious action. And performing austerity is also the religious actions. So these are the daily enjoined religious duties that a person performs. Lord Krishna says even these religious duties also, etani api karman, even these religious duties also, sangam tyaktva phalani cha tyaktva kartavyani. Even this also must be performed by giving up the attachment as well as hankering for the result. It is possible that we may perform these religious duties also with a desire to earn some merit. I am giving this charity that will create for me a certain punya or a virtue, because of which I will get a place in heavens. I am observing this fast, I am observing these austerities, and that will accumulate some punya or the virtue for me, and thus I will get some pleasure or happiness in future. I am performing this yajna, performing these forms of worship, and that will please the God, and by His grace I will get whatever benefits. So these religious actions also can be performed for the sake of material benefit. And they are being performed, they can be performed. You can perform puja to Lord Dakshinamurti, Lord Dakshinamurti, please bless me, so that my son may get admission in medical school, something like that. You can always seek, nothing wrong in it. And usually when you perform the actions, some of these desires are there. In fact, very often you make contract with the God. You know that all right, such and such thing happens, then I will chant a particular prayer 100 times, Or I will repeat this name 10,000 times, if this happens. Usually we require him to do his job first, and then we do the other thing, So if you do this, then this is what I will do. Some people do it first and hope that he will do his job, But the point is that even these religious duties also can be performed with a result in mind, with a reward in mind, a personal reward. There's nothing wrong in it, it's quite alright. It is quite in order that we perform the prayers and worship with a desire to gain a certain result. Nothing wrong in it. But as we said, that is still making contact with the Lord, it is quite alright, but that is not a spiritual life. So there can be a religious person, but he may not be a spiritual person. It is good to be a religious person, but it's better to be both religious and a spiritual person. So therefore Lord Krishna says that these actions will become means to my spiritual growth when they are performed sangam tyaktva phalani cha. Sangha means the attachment. In this sense, attachment here means that so aham evam karomi iti, that I am doing this, a certain amount of pride that is involved, or a certain amount of strong identification that is involved while the action is being performed, that I am the one who is doing it. I am responsible for doing the action. It is my abilities, it is my knowledge, it is my skill, it is my resources because of which this action is being performed. So when the action is being performed, there can be this kind of consciousness or this kind of a notion that it is I who is doing it, and therefore I am responsible for this action. I take the credit for performing this action. Lord Krishna says that I better that also should be given up. Even when I am performing a religious action, that I am performing, say in the spirit of humility may perform an action. Even a good action that is performed also should be performed in the spirit of humility. Even when I am giving charity, the consciousness that I am doing something. Swamiji, I am helping the people, I am helping this, I am doing this. Nothing wrong in it, you are doing it. But better would be that, Swamiji, it was my privilege to do this. So when giving the charity, for example, so in Taittiriya Upanishad say, Shraddhayadayam, Ashraddhaya Adayam, Shriyadayam, Kriyadayam, Bhyadayam, Samvidadayam. So when you give charity also, may you feel that it is your privilege to give to somebody. That somebody in fact obliged you by stretching his hand, otherwise how can you give to somebody? So in order for me to receive, my hand must be lower than the person who is giving me something. So one who gives his hand is higher, one who receives his hand is lower. And so somebody accepted to stretch out his hand and place it at a level lower than your hand, then alone I could give something. So even when I give something, it requires the cooperation. I should say that it requires a support. It requires in fact the support of the other person, and therefore then the scriptures say that the person who is giving should feel privileged. That it is my privilege, my honor that I am able to give. That somebody accepted to receive it from me. That I had the opportunity or the honor to be in a position that I could give. Because Lord has given me. Otherwise, how can I give? And so, this kind of sense, this kind of humility. So, recognition of the realities of life that I am what I am on account of, as we said, whatever privileges I am enjoying, whatever support that I am receiving. And therefore, not even considering the resources and ability that I have as owned by me, but that they are all gifts given to me, and therefore I am returning these gifts. So this is what we will call a spirit of humility. That's what is meant by sangam tyaktva, giving up the attachment, giving the sense of ownership, even while you are making offerings. And phalanicha, as we said in the morning, also giving the attachment to the result, attachment to the reward. That a result has two elements, the result has two aspects. One is what we call the physical aspect, the visible aspect. That I perform an action and this is the result. And that will come according to the law of karma. But there is an unseen aspect also, that result also brings a certain personal reward for me, and that is in terms of giving me some recognition, giving me some, satisfying my ego, and so that is the subtle aspect of it, unseen aspect of it. And Lord Krishna says, give up attachment to that. That means, you perform an action not as a means of satisfying your ego, perform an action not seeking some kind of a personal reward, personal recognition, personal benefit, but then do it for the sake of performing the action. These things are all very easily said. They are extremely, as you try to do that, extremely difficult to do. This karma yoga is not an easy thing. But then that's alright. It is not easy, meaning that what it requires is my tendencies of holding on to things, my tendencies of possession, my insecurities basically. What comes in the way is always my insecurity, because I do not know that I will really get the reward or not. Lord Krishna assures that you will get the reward. Leave it to me. But I want to make sure that I get it. And therefore, ma phaleshu kadachana, leave the reward to me. And the reward doesn't have to be always in the sense of the gratification of ego. There can be even a superior reward. Then what reward will this bring in? Pavanani manishanam. If I do not ask for reward, does it mean I don't get the reward? You get. What is it? That is the purification of the mind. This purification also is of two kinds, by the way. See, when I perform these religious actions, then I get punya. Punya means a virtue. And because that qualifies me to gain some pleasures or happiness in future or happiness in heavens. Even that also requires certain purification of mind. Because, to enjoy things also we require a certain kind of mind. To enjoy the means of pleasure that we have also, we require a mind that enjoys certain points, certain sensitivity. So that is the result of performing good action, that you get that sensitivity, that poise, so you can enjoy things. But if I perform an action without expectation of any reward, like that also, then I get purification of different kind. That's the purification that is a means of knowledge. So therefore the scriptures talk of two kinds of purification. One is a purification that qualifies me to go to heavens and enjoy the pleasures there. And second is a purification that prepares me for the knowledge. And therefore, when I do not ask for any kind of reward, it is the second kind of purification, what we call antahakana shuddhi, inner purification, freedom from the attachment and aversion, all of this purification I get. And that is the reward that you do get. But that is not a tangible reward. It is not something that you see, but that's the reward that you get. So, etanya vidu karmani sangam tyaktva phalani cha kartavyani. Even these religious actions also should perform, giving up this strong sense of identification as well as also the attachment or demand for the reward. This is where Lord Krishna differs from the Mimamsakas. See, in the third verse, in the second line it was said, Yajnidana tapah karma natyajamini chapare. Other thinkers say that the actions called yajna, dana and tapah should never be given up. But they do not say that the actions be performed with what attitude. Because Mimamsakas believe that you must perform an action with a desire for the result. Then alone action becomes fruitful. They say that you must perform an action with a desire for result, for a reward. What does Lord Krishna say? Perform these actions without the expectation of reward. That's where he differs from the Mimamsakas. That even the religious action we perform without the expectation of reward, such as heavens, etc., and do that. That is when they will be conducive to what we call moksha, because by giving us the inner purification. Iti nishchitam matam uttamam. This is my firm and uttamam, best conclusion. So, Lord Krishna thus qualifies the performance of yajna dana tapaha by saying that the attachment as well as the demand should be given up and perform these actions. As we said, what we have to do, anyway, this will again come subsequently, but as I just said, giving up attachment or giving up a reward is the expectation of reward is not easy at all. In the smallest things also our mind expects rewards. A little thing that I do also there is an expectation. These days when a teenager even mows a lawn, in the house, then he expects that he will get $10, whatever it is. So I hear everything works, that way. But the idea is that the expectation of a reward is always there. And even if I do not express it, it is there in some way. Some kind of recognition, some appreciation. And Lord Krishna recognizes that expectation as the source of all disappointments in our life. And we'll talk about it further when the occasion comes. So Lord Krishna said, Nishchitam matamuttvam, this is my firm and the best conclusion, that perform this daily and incidental obligatory duties, and they also you perform without a demand for the reward, as well as without a strong sense of identification when you perform the action. Ideally one can say that I am doing this because God is doing it through me. I am nothing but an instrument in the hands of the Lord. And therefore, that's what a devotee will say. Very humble. He knows that there is Lord who is doing everything. I am just an instrument in His hands. So, with reference to Tyaga or renunciation, Lord Krishna promised that I will tell you what is my firm conclusion. The firm conclusion has been given here. That renunciation is not renunciation of action, but renunciation of attachment and the demand for the reward. Then also said, Tyago hi purusha vyagra trividaha samprakirtidaha. O lion or tiger among the men, that the Tyaga renunciation is said to be threefold. And that's what now, what Lord Krishna proceeds to explain. What is this threefold renunciation? You may give up the action, but then renunciation also is threefold. And that is Sattvic, Rajas and Tamas. So many categories will be now described will be categorized by Lord Krishna as Sattvic, Rajas and Tamas. So just to remind you, the Sattva, Rajas and Tamas, these three dispositions of mind. So we'll just write them here. Our mind has these three dispositions. One is called Sattva, other is called Rajas, and third is called Tamas. Sattva stands for light, clarity, tranquility. Self-acceptance. So when the mind is sattvic, then this is what we find. So mind is light, meaning that there is a clarity in the mind, and therefore whatever perceptions and knowledge that takes place, the mind has a very good grasping power, is able to grasp, is able to retain, is able to understand also the subtle meanings of what is being told to us. There is a clarity of thinking, clarity of understanding. tranquility. Mind enjoys tranquility, freedom from distractions or disturbances or conflicts. Cheerfulness, there is inner pleasure. And therefore there is a self-acceptance. This is the sattvic disposition of mind. Rajas is when rajas, agitations, desires, greed, activity, restlessness, that is rajas. And tamas is dullness, darkness. Laziness. And so forth. So this is the tamas. However, traditionally sattva is indicated, denoted by the color white, rajas denoted by the color red, and tamas denoted by the color black. So this was all discussed in the 14th chapter of the Gita, and in the 17th also the categories were made by Lord Krishna, and in 18th chapter also there is a continuation of that thought. Sattva, rajas and tamas. And what we want to do is transform the tamas tendencies to rajas and rajas to sattva. This is what we want. So when the mind is under the influence of tamas, then it's dull. There is no initiative at all. There is no inspiration, no initiative. You don't feel like doing anything at all. Nothing inspires you. Nothing motivates you. So in tamas there is lack of motivation. And so person will not do anything. So this person is told, if you don't perform your duty, you cannot maintain your body. If you don't perform your duty, you will suffer. So there is certain threat given to him. A certain, fear is created in this mind of person, and he is made to do things. So scriptures say that you must perform your daily and incidental obligatory duties. Akarane patyavaya. To fail to perform your duties, you will suffer the consequences. And that's how you create desire in this person. The best thing to do is also to create temptation. Therefore in the Vedas also, lots of what we call arthavada. And so results of the actions are praised. There is something called heaven, and what kind of pleasure, there are descriptions of heaven and such things. And so this person now gets motivated because he wants heaven, he wants pleasure. And it's motivate him and make him perform action. And so to move from tamas to rajas is by activity. Otherwise this fellow is inactive. You have to make him active. Once he becomes rajas person, lot of activity, but activities are desire prompted activities. He wants more and more, he wants to possess more, he wants to enjoy more. And he never gets satisfaction with what he has, and therefore even more he gets, more he wants, because that is greed. This is rajas. Now we know that he is now ready for being transformed to sattva. So there is a lot of energy now, a lot of motivation is there, but then to achieve and acquire and enjoy and control and command, and thus this is what he wants. He is an aggressive person, he is an outgoing person. Rajas. Now what do we do? Now we have to make him a spiritual person. So we say that perform your activities, giving up the attachment for the reward. Perform your actions with what we call the selfless motive. Not for your selfish reasons, but in the spirit of offering. So this is where yoga comes in. Karma yoga is not for this fellow. For tamas, there is no karma yoga yet because he is not ready. For him there is just karma. And also the action that brings about reward. So action motivated by the desire for reward is for the person who has his tamas. But then for the rajas person, the action is perform an action without expectation of reward. Perform action in the spirit of offering. So karma yoga. And karma yoga slowly makes him a sattvic person. As these tendencies of greed, the attachment, aversion, etc. goes, he becomes a sattvic person. He becomes a tranquil person and contemplative person, and thus becomes fit for knowledge. So this is a scheme. And Bhagavad Gita starts with rajas basically, although now and then we hear in Lord Krishna does mention what happens to a person who does not participate. But basically, it is addressed to a person who has rajas, who has energy, who has abilities. And he should be channelized in a manner that those energies then become the means for his inner growth. So far he is using the energies for his outer growth and motivate him to use the energies for the inner growth. So this is how sattva, rajas and tamas. How do we know what kind of a mind do I have? That depends upon what motivations I have. And therefore Lord Krishna will tell us now different things. So to begin with, tyaga or renunciation. So when a sattvic person renounces, how does he renounce? When a person with rajas he renounces, how does he renounce? When a person with tamas he renounces, how does he renounce? That's how, by categorizing renunciation as tamas, rajas and sattva, also we are told the disposition of mind and what we should do. So Lord Krishna says, Tyago hi purusha vyagra trividah samprakirtidah. Here Arjuna, the tyaga renunciation also is said to be threefold. It is this threefold here, sattvic, rajas and tamas. And Lord Krishna begins with describing the tyaga done by a tamas person in the 7th verse. नियतस्य तु संन्यासः कर्मणो नोपपद्यते मोहात् तस्य परित्यागः तामसः परिकीर्तितः नियतस्य तु कर्मणः संन्यासः न उपपद्यते. So Lord Krishna says, but renunciation, abandoning, that is not abandoning your enjoined duty is not justifiable at all. But this is said in reference to some people who say that the action has no role to play in the spiritual pursuit and therefore they must be abandoned. Or Arjuna here in reference to Bhagavad Gita also is ready to abandon his action. He is not so much renunciation. He just wants to abandon because he doesn't see the value of the action. So there are some people who do not understand how valuable the karma or the action is or the duty is in terms of one's own growth, and therefore not recognizing the contribution that duty has to make. By karma you should understand duty, by enjoined action or the enjoined duties, and so not recognizing the value of the contribution that a duty makes in my life, a person abandons it. That's called moha tasya parityagaha. Moha means out of delusion. What is delusion? Moha means avivekaha, seeing something which is not there. Like where there is rope, seeing it as a snake is called moha. Similarly also what is useful, to see that as not useful. So what is valuable, to see that as without a value is also moha. And what is not valuable, to see that as valuable also is moha or aviveka. Similarly also this karma is a very valuable thing. So Lord Krishna says karma or the action, the privilege of a human being is something very valuable. Not only it is valuable in terms of acquiring the material things, but it is very valuable in terms of the spiritual growth as well. And so a person understands the value that the karma has with reference to achieving the material things, which Arjuna also understood. He knew that even fighting this battle will be able to acquire for him the victory and kingdom and power and everything that goes with it. But when he was not interested in that, he said, I am not interested in karma, not recognizing that the karma can also give rise to something else, namely antahkarana shuddhi or the inner purification. So not recognizing this value of action or karma, or the duty rather, that it can become a means of my inner purification, and thus can take me or enable me to move in the direction of my goal, which is moksha. So moksha means that freedom, and that freedom is something to be owned, something to be discovered, something to be recognized by removing whatever it is that weighs that freedom, and that karma yoga is first step of removing the obstacles to the manifestation of freedom, and that's how karma, the duty, is so important. Not recognizing that, mohat tasya parityagaha, abandoning that, or giving up that action, is tamasah parikirtitaha. That kind of a tyaga or renunciation, abandonment is called tamasah. That is born out of tamas. So a person is tamas means the one who understands things quite contrary to what they are. So dharma is looked upon as adharma, useful is looked upon as useless, and useless is looked upon as useful. This is called tamas. And therefore people not understanding the value of karma, they abandon it. And that kind of renunciation is tamasah, born of tamas, born of delusion. Okay. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Vadarayanam Sutrabhashya Krutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah. Ishvaro Gururatmedi Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavadvyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo